The Wellness Revolution starts now.
Hello, I'm Dr. Steve Hotze, and you are here with me on Dr. Hotze's Wellness Revolution. And I want to tell you what, I believe each one of you needs to have a physician and a staff of professionals who can coach you on a path of health and wellness naturally. So as you mature, you've got a better quality of life. You've got energy, vitality, and you're enthusiastic about life. And I want you to meet a lovely young lady, Elizabeth Coffman, who's been a guest of ours since back in February of 2016. So she's been a guest here at the Hotze Health and Wellness Center for 5 years. She's a native Houstonian. And Elizabeth, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much.
I'm so glad you're here.
Truly a pleasure.
Why don't you tell us about yourself? Tell us where you grew up and tell us something about your life. Where'd you go to high school? I knew you grew up here in the town, so tell us about that.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, I grew up in Humble, so suburb of Houston, and mom and dad and two brothers. And then in my married life, I've lived in the Heights with my husband. Fun fact, we actually had our babies in New York City, but when we had number 3, we came back down to Houston to be near the grandparents and settle in. So I have a sophomore in high school, an 8th grader, and a 5th grader sons.
And interesting, it's a small world. Her boys attend St. Thomas High School,
That's right,
where I attended high school. Long time ago. It goes back. I graduated in 1968. If you can imagine that. That was a time ago.
And ours are the class of 2024, 26. These numbers don't even sound real to me.
And no, isn't that crazy?
24.
Now, where did you go to high school?
So I went to Humble High School.
Did
so
you?
I went K through 12 in the public system out there.
Good.
It was great.
Okay, so tell us about your health situation, and overall, tell us about your health as you grew up. Went through the change, went through puberty, and got married. Tell us about your health. How's your health been overall, and what was it like, and what ended up? Did you see other physicians, and how did you end up here? Tell us about that.
Yeah, thanks. My health as a child was healthy. I was healthy, and then as I started going through puberty, I was one of those lucky girls that had a rhythmic cycle. Just everything was regular. As I kept maturing, everything stayed normal. And I would look at my friends who were kind of getting off, having messes of their, puberty. And I wasn't one of those people. And my mom also wasn't one of those people. And I just felt really lucky and also just normal. So then I, get married, and it's time to start having children, which luckily for me, came very easily. My husband and I were doing natural family planning because before we were married, I had tried in the past birth control and for mood stabilization, and it did all the opposite things. Sure. So that was kind of an early indicator that I was going to be a one-off, but I didn't know it yet. I didn't see it that way. I got acne, and I got sad, and I got low energy. I got bloated. Anyway, so that was a kind of a mistake even before I knew my husband. So we get pregnant, and baby 1, baby 2, it goes well. Baby 3, my body made a shift.
Now, how long ago would have that been?
I had him in 2010.
Okay.
So that pregnancy was the start of what led me to come here and what led me to find you.
Okay, so tell us, was the pregnancy a normal pregnancy? No problem? Was it after the pregnancy that you began to experience some problems?
It was. It was like delivery, and I started having, I guess I should just say, I started having yeast infections that would not clear. They lasted for a year. I was living in New York. I was going to my OB-GYN, and I was, finished having children. I was postpartum, and I kept almost like crying to her, saying like, this doesn't feel normal. I've had other children. I haven't had this trouble before. Do you think it's something I'm eating? I was saying to her, that's the only change. I'm eating more calories because I'm nursing the baby. No, she would say, and give me medicine over and over and over and over and over. Meanwhile, let me just admit, the problem was that I was completely addicted to Dr. Pepper. I was having so many Cokes a day, so many, and full sugar. And anyway, so my milk dried out, which had never happened before, had not happened with my other two. And I was unhealthy. I was a sick person. So yeast infections that wouldn't clear, exhausted from 3 children. That's kind of normal. But I started turning to food. I went to sugar to solve it. You know what'll make me feel better is Cheetos. You know what'll make me feel better is a Dr. Pepper and a cookie and a drive-through. That will give me that energy I need to be patient with my kids. Of course, the opposite happens. Be patient with my husband. Of course, the opposite happens. So that was the very first turn toward this is not working. Medicine, simple pill is not helping me.
Now, what were your doctors recommending? Did they give you any prescriptions?
So they gave me like vaginal yeast infection medicine,
Right.
the exact same one over and over. I mean, I honestly probably took it, I'm so embarrassed to say, probably 30 times before I realized like,
This might be
this may not be working. This may not be working. So yeah, sad. I was sad all the time. I was tired all the
What was your
time.
energy level on a scale of 0 to 10, 10 being brimming with energy, 0 no energy? Where would have you rated your energy?
I mean, 1 or a 0, to the point that my mother, who was living in Texas, was sending my brother, who was living in a neighboring neighborhood of mine, on the subway, on the train, to come and help me, and paying him to help me raise my children. I was at no energy. My husband was at work.
Now, what did your husband do there in
None.
New York?
Well, the same thing he does now. So he does energy finance.
Right.
So he was off in the city doing his thing, and
Yeah, and you-
not without compassion, but just
Right.
not home.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
So you returned to Houston when?
Mm-hmm. So we moved before that child turned 1. So 2011, we came back, ran back. We ran back to Texas. Right?
Can you imagine living in New York City now?
I'm very
Oh,
happy to be here.
I had a daughter one of our daughters lived in New York City with her husband. They're back in Houston now too, but compared to the way it was, I mean, now when you look at what's going on there, it's just so sad. how
Yes.
the city's just completely changed. It's unfortunately. But anyway, so you came back here. So you set up a relationship with some doctors here. What'd they tell you here?
Same.
What'd they tell you?
It's so sad. It makes me so sad. So they said, even though my baby was 1, they said, you're postpartum. The reason you're sad all the time is you're postpartum and you're mourning, that you aren't going to have more kids. Well, I wasn't mourning that. Let me be straight. And, I would ask them, so it was one OBGYN, and I would ask her over and over, like, I think it's things I'm eating. I do not think that my diet is fitting my mood. Oh, no, that doesn't affect your mood at all. The way you eat does not affect it at all. You need to take birth control. And I had already been on birth control before.
You knew that didn't work.
But I did it. And I took it. It was like lower. I mean, I'm like on the verge of tears retelling this, because it was just this feeling of, why do I feel like I'm the crazy one? Why do I feel like I'm the only person that can't find health in birth control and not worrying about your diet? And why can't I just be normal? Like I was saying, how I felt normal as when I was 13. So it was a lonely feeling. Talking to my girlfriends, what are y'all doing? And it's like all the same. Like, I got on the pill to get my cycle re-regulated after our babies. And I was saying to them, like, I would do that if it worked. It is not working. So it was, until I came here in 2016, it was a decline. I was going downhill.
How was it affecting your relationship with your kids?
So embarrassing. The only redemption to this story is that it's now been a long time since I've been out of that hole. I was just short-tempered. That's the shortest answer. I was exhausted all the time.
You would have been how old at that time?
Young. I was 34 when I had my third child. And so 35, 36. what I would consider long before 40. And I'm 45 now.
Right.
So I felt young, but
Sure.
I acted like I was 90.
Okay, so birth control pills, by the way, they're not going to work because birth control pills are not natural hormones.
No.
Your problem, ladies, just to explain what Elizabeth's problem was, is that after she had her third baby, her hormones didn't come back and get balanced back. She wasn't producing adequate amount of hormones in balance. It's all about balancing your hormones. And I can tell you now, tell me this, how did this affect your menstrual periods?
They were a mess for the very first time in my life. They were a mess.
Now this is, which means you're getting heavier, you're getting clotting, breakthrough bleeding, and all that.
All of that.
Yeah. And did you end up having to get a hysterectomy or not?
I did not.
Okay.
I came to you.
Well, listen, and unlike a previous guest that we just visited with, she unfortunately ended up seeing her doctor, and the doctor said, "Oh, we can stop that. We'll just give you a hysterectomy." I'm sure your doctor told you that too. And folks, this is so simple, and I don't understand why the OB-GYN doctors, for the most part, don't get it because they deal with women all the time. How does somebody like me get it? I've written the book right here, Hormones, Health, and Happiness. This book ought to be given to every OB-GYN, and they ought to follow the directions in it because we see all their failures, and they come in, and the problem is so obvious what you had. You had a hormonal imbalance.
That's right.
And the hormonal imbalance was that you had estrogen dominance, you were progesterone deficient. Once a woman hits midlife and after several children, the hormones are, remember, shut off. Your ovaries are completely shut off during your pregnancy. The placenta makes all the hormones, and the placenta belongs to the baby. Once that baby's delivered, the placenta is delivered, your ovaries are flat lined right now. Now they got to turn back on. And you're getting older. They don't always turn back on right. The light flutters, and so next thing you know, you've just got estrogen flowing in your system. You're not balancing with progesterone. You get the breakthrough bleeding. You get the heavy periods, cramping, mood swings, fluid retention, weight gain, headaches.
Anemia.
Oh, anemia. The whole lot. Well, I mean, you were bleeding very heavily. So this is a huge problem that can be easily addressed by using natural progesterone. Hello. So anyway, and then the doctors try to put you on birth control pills, ladies, and golly, you don't want to take that because that'll give you estrogen dominance, and so many women feel bad when they get on the birth control pills, but it maybe regulates their period, so they tolerate it just to have a regular period,
right.
Right. So anyway, you came in. How'd you hear about us? What made you decide to come in, Elizabeth?
I have a pretty dramatic story.
Okay.
So I had been on this decline. I was getting colder and colder. I was getting, honestly weaker. You mentioned it, but I was having headaches. I was taking daily naps before I found you. I was taking daily naps. And most significantly, I was taking daily baths. I was sitting in my bathtub at least once a day, most often twice a day. 365 because I couldn't get warm. I was like a lizard. I needed external heat to warm my body. Freezing
Which
all
is
the
a
time.
classical feature of hypothyroidism.
So my mother keeps telling me, for a year, you need to go see Dr. Hotze. You need to go see. Well, I couldn't hear any doctor was like no, I'm not doing that.
No more doctors.
She hands me 2 of your books. And I am sitting in my bathtub, and I'm kind of thumbing through, and I get to the checklist that's in this book.
Right.
And I start bawling. I am sobbing by myself. And because this checklist is as me as I've ever seen. And sitting in my bathtub, I called the 1-800 number and, bawled to the person who answered the phone and got an appointment. And she was so compassionate. Even the person answering the phone was so kind to me, and it was wonderful. And that was the beginning.
So that was in 2016. You came in and saw Dr. Ellsworth?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you came into the center and you heard about it. Tell us your experience when you walked in the door. What did you expect? I mean, you talked. Your mother said, "Come here." What did your mother say? Come see us. How did she know about it?
She thought I had undiagnosed hypothyroidism.
Right.
That's
but how did she know about it?
Yeah, from reading your book, I think.
Is that right?
I
Okay.
think.
So anyway, you came in. So tell us about your experience. Walk through the door. What was your impression?
Well, my impression was this is like a home. Everybody is greeting me by name. There's all this food. People are handing me, do you want coffee? Do you want nuts? Do you want? So very welcoming right from the beginning. And I was both exhausted. I also had a ton of brain fog. So I was so nervous. Like literally, I was nervous that I was going to answer my own health questions incorrectly. What if I can't remember when I had my last period? What if I can't remember the last time I felt good or the last time I could exercise for an hour or, so I was a little nervous and then I was skeptical. Like nothing else has worked. Why would this work? He has doctor at the front of his name. Why would this work? So that's how I walked in, a mix of excitement and warmth and anxiety.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, so what did you notice different in the ambience when you walked in and came into the reception room? Notice we call it a reception room.
It's lovely here. There's books everywhere and literature everywhere, and the receptionist is so kind and good eye contact. And now I've been coming here. You're asking about my first time, but she always remembers that I have sons, always asks me about them. She also has sons. So,
that's Becky. You're talking about Becky. She's the concierge. Becky Diaz is our concierge, and she's been in that desk in the reception room for the last 17 years.
Oh.
She knows everybody.
It's a good feeling.
Yeah, it is.
It's a good feeling.
You know what her title is on her card?
No.
Director of First Impression.
Well, that's right. It makes a difference.
She's great. Okay, so you got in and you met with Dr. Ellsworth. How was that experience compared to the other times you met with any other physicians?
The main thing that I can remember is I felt like I could have been there for 7 hours if that's what it took. So that's the first thing I remember is the sense of no clock. Not like we've got to get to the next patient and it's all about turning it over. It was the opposite. Like you and I are sitting here, he was sitting and listening to my story and saying, that's very common. That's very common. And I had felt so unicorn and so strange and so one-off. And, oh, that's very common. It was very comforting. I'm sure I cried.
Okay, so he got you up and rolling on natural hormones, got you up on thyroid hormones, got you on a good healthy yeast eating program, vitamins and minerals. That's so right. How long did it take you before you started to get improvement in your menstrual cycles, menstrual periods, and your moods? And how long did it take till you felt like you were starting to make progress?
Almost week 2, it was pretty immediate. It was pretty immediate that I started having energy, that I stopped having all this built-in resentment, which was all, none of my resentment was real. It was all this imbalance, like kind of, mom rage that just went away. It was pretty immediate.
And how long did it take your menstrual cycles to begin to regulate and the periods to improve?
It's a little harder for me to remember, but pretty right away, I started tracking on an app, or I think I had come in with an app. And I think I noticed in, let's say, 3 months that I was starting to get back to a normal amount of, like a normal 28-day cycle.
And so now you've been on the program for 5 years. And so you've had gradual and steady improvement over this time, and now on a scale of 0 to 10, 10 being the best you ever felt in your life, 0 being the way you were when you came in, how would you rate yourself now?
I think the last time I did the form, I've switched to Angelica being my doctor, and I think the last time I did 8 or 9, and that's pretty consistent for me. It's like a easy energy, easy to wake up, easy to go to sleep, which is big. Go to sleep, stay asleep, that's big. So just as easy as it is to get up, easy to have patience, easy to have grace, it's great.
And how about your mental focus and mental sharpness?
So that is dependent on whether I'm being true to yeast free or not. And I've had my last 2 appointments on the phone with Angelica, and she can hear in my tone of voice, are you being true to yeast free? And I have to admit, like, well, I might have fallen off the wagon a little bit, and she's just very steady, not overbearing, but she really emphasizes the importance. And then she says, okay, I'm going to check back with you in 6 weeks. And she checks back and she can hear the clarity again in my voice.
That's great. And so you're up on the thyroid and the hormones and premenstrually, how the mood swings, the fluid retention, weight gain, cramping, headaches, and breast tenderness. How's all that done?
Well, Angelica is wonderful. So she and I have worked through this where now I switched to taking progesterone and estrogen on days 11 through 14, and then switched to progesterone on day 15 so that I don't have any of those symptoms.
Isn't that wonderful?
It's wonderful.
Huh? How simple is that?
And
that this goes to show you, and I don't know why, you don't need birth control pills, ladies, if you're having menstrual problems and premenstrual symptoms, which you're going to have. Every woman's going to end up having, going to have symptoms of low thyroid. You simply need to replenish what's ebbing, what's going down, and that's the progesterone. Take your progesterone like you're doing you're taking it day 11 through 28, and you're taking some thyroid, natural thyroid. You go on vitamins and minerals, and as best you can, you're trying to eat a more healthy, cleaner eating program, right? So how about your weight? Have you had any difficulty with weight?
I mean, I did when I walked in.
Yeah.
But I'm happy now.
That's great. Well, you've got a beautiful smile. I can tell you radiate. I mean, if you told me that, if I wouldn't believe you if I just met you told me I was a depressed person and wasn't enjoyable to be around. Now, let me ask you this. Can your children tell the difference?
I mean, that's where they're going to need therapy if they remember those early first years. I mean, not just a difference. It's a whole family change. It really is. To have me be present, eager to see them, energy to go through the day. I mean, I could cry again. It is night and day. So they definitely, I hope they don't see a difference. I hope what they see is, I have a mom who's patient and I have a mom who listens to me.
That's what they remember.
I hope.
And what about your husband? Can he tell a difference?
Now, he can tell a difference. He was so patient during those years, but they were challenging. I mean, we didn't even talk about low libido, but it did not exist when I walked in here. And that's important in a marriage. So my patience, my energy, libido return, it feels like a gift to our marriage.
Well, that's wonderful.
It's true. And, I just wanted to say about Angelica and about the way you run this clinic is that the reason that there's success is that you do not allow your physicians to treat us like one pill does one thing and that's all it does and it does it for everyone and now on your way. Angelica has been so nuanced with me, and I can call her or email her or that text thing or be in the office with her, and I can tell her the craziest symptoms, and she has an actual supplement downstairs that helps me over and over. Oh, I think I get foggy on day 11. Okay, I think you need to increase your progesterone. It's incredible. That's how you run it here, and it makes such a life change for me.
Listen, the congratulations and the credit really goes to you for taking charge of your health. You made that decision to do that. So many individuals and so many women, ladies, I know many of you all, and husbands too that are watching this, know that there are many women you could benefit if you take charge of your health, and it's a big step to take charge of your health.
Is.
You go, I mean, you remember you were taking charge of your health initially, taking Dr. Peppers and sugar. That's the way you were going to make yourself well. But finally, you made a decision that you were going to get on a healthy right away instead of on, most Americans are going on the wrong way of the health highway and they're going to whack themselves.
That's right.
They get terribly sick. You got over on the other side and you went the right way, and it's made a difference in your personal life. Now, let me ask you this. It's changed the way your children relate to you. It's changed the way you and your husband relate. How does it make you feel about yourself?
Oh, I'm glad you asked that. It is a return to feeling like I'm normal. That's how it feels. It feels like, oh, there are doctors who can make me feel normal. So I can get educated on eating the right way, taking the right supplements, and then supplementing the hormones that are leaving with age or ebbing, at least. And I can feel normal.
That's wonderful.
It's wonderful.
Well, you get a credit, and I've told, when I speak to our guests, I say, we're like the health athlete. We're like the health coaches. You're the health athlete.
Nice.
You're in the health Olympics. Life is a health Olympics. And if you want to be healthy, you have to follow some kind of plan. And so you come to us and we give you a plan. We don't tell you have to do it. We can make recommendations. But if you want to get the gold medal, you've got to do the heavy lifting, and you've done it. And you've got the gold medal.
Thanks so much.
So I'm proud of you. Congratulations, Elizabeth.
Yeah.
And thank you for joining us. And thank each one of you for joining us today on Dr. Hotze's Wellness Revolution. And you can be part of us. Don't hesitate to give us a call. We would love to have the opportunity to serve you. God bless you.
At Physicians Preference Pharmacy, we understand that the quality of your compounded medications directly affects the way you feel, which is why we believe that your pharmacy should specialize in compounding medications while also delivering extraordinary hospitality and guest service. We believe that both patients and prescribers should accept nothing less than consistency and quality from their compounding pharmacy. This is why we've implemented some of the strictest quality standards in compounding, exceeding standard requirements, achieving PCAB accreditation, which is the Pharmacy Compounding Accreditation Board, an organization that sets the highest standards in compounding pharmacy regarding the safety, cleanliness, and quality of your compounded prescriptions. Because of our commitment to complete health and wellness, we are dedicated to making your medications free of lactose, parabens, artificial sweeteners, and any unnecessary dyes, binders, or fillers present in many other medications, offering you the cleanest products possible.
Information provided on this program is neither intended nor implied to be a substitute for professional medical advice and is not intended to replace the services of a physician, nor does it constitute a doctor-patient relationship. You should not use information from this radio program to diagnose or treat a health problem or disease without consulting with a qualified healthcare provider. If you have or suspect you have an urgent medical problem, promptly contact a professional healthcare provider or call 911. Dr. Hotze's Wellness Revolution advises you to always seek the advice of a physician or other qualified health provider prior to starting any new treatment or with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition. Any application of the recommendations from this program is at the listener's discretion.